Good news first up, Alex, is that the weather, it's gonna warm up. It's gonna be a bit warmer, wilder on Friday, but racing will go ahead.
Yeah, and I think Cheltenham are taking precautions just in case anyway, so I think they'll fleece up just in case. But I think all the word is Sam McLeish wasn't bothered at all. He felt earlier on in the week that despite this midweek freeze, they'd be all guns blazing for the weekend, and that's good news because it's back in 2 days.
Prevention is better than cure, my friend.
Yeah, you didn't listen to that though yourself, did you? How is the little one?
Yeah, good. Nearly a year now. Nearly a year. 20th of December. So.
That's a good. She's 2 days younger. She's 2 days before me, but she's
she is a bit younger.
39 and a bit.
Yeah, she's got similar hair to you.
Auburn.
Yeah.
Okay.
And volume. No, it's rich coming from. It's rich coming from me. Anyway. Let's talk racing again. It's a real good race at Paul Stewart, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Let's have a look at the bet and walk on. Solid run last time out. Goes well fresh, but Union East 9-2. Norris de la Tour is 9-1. Astracad 10s with Crystal bonus. And Nadi de la Vega 10s. I think this race is as clear as mud at the minute.
Yeah.
I just think the final declaration is obviously hunting and off tomorrow. The likes of Crystal bonus obviously won't be going there. Will Paul Nicholls declare him? Will he declare Union East if wishful thinking runs? I suspect not.
Yeah, there's a couple of horses that, Crystal bonus, wishful thinking. Potentially races like the Peterborough could be on the agenda as well.
Union East is a fascinating runner if he lines up. If the top two come out, they're obviously owned by the same owner, Philip Hobbs Trains. Likelihood if he's going to declare one of them, but he's just keeping him £7 wrong. £7 wrong, £7 for being a 4-year-old. So you love that 4-year-old allowance, but races like this, we can have a look at him. This was obviously a quality lineup. Down east, he could go, or looks like he's the top of the pecking order in this country. Fingal Bay, this was the proper Fingal Bay before things went wayward at Exeter for whatever reason. And Carlito Briganti's in behind, so good yardsticks. He's unexposed. The race he won at Aintree, they missed out the final 3 fences with his son. I think if them fences were in, he would have been a lot more impressive. He jumps, he's by Domalco, the same of Sylvain Conti, the same of Neptune Colons. They're slow burners. To show this as a 4-year-old, he's a half brother to My Will, with the yard done so well. So he's a real interesting horse of a mark of 137.
Yeah, and Carlito, who had Cheltenham winning form previously, he's still matching strides with them sort of 2 out, isn't he? You could argue maybe it turned into a bit of a sprint, but the key to this horse is he's a terrific jumper. Yeah. They might not get many chances to run him in a handicap like this of 10 stone again. So in a sense, their hand is forced. If this is as good as it is believed, and when I saw him win at Aintree behind this time, I didn't have him pegged as a particularly quick horse. So speed might come into it. That was a real test. It's worth remembering. Cheltenham have had more rain than they have done in years, and you only have to look at some of the distances. Six horses finished in the Paddy Power. That's unheard of, isn't it? So it was real testing ground at the last 2 meetings, more so than usual. It might be more of a speed test this weekend, so that's something to bear in mind. But his jumping technique and his potential good weight and handicap mark are balanced against that.
Yeah, and still unexposed, only having his third run with Paul Nicholls. And by Domalco, as I keep saying, they just always improve with age.
Yeah, I like the way when he was headed, turning for home, he wasn't put to bed.
Yeah,
he was almost closing the gap again at the finish. So I thought that was a good sign.
Yeah, where do you sit with Walk On? He goes well fresh. He went well fresh behind another Paul Nicholls, Domalco, that's owned by John Hales in Alfaroff.
Nadia de la Vega's in this race as well. This is the Paddy Power. Look how well they pull clear of anything else. He's finished relatively close up behind a horse who's fancied in a Grade 1.
King George, at
Kempton. So it was a solid effort. I think he's just found his niche effectively. Some people have thought, well, throughout last season, where was he at? He was getting well beaten, but he was getting beaten by Q Card for Non-Stop and Bob's Worth. He was getting beaten by Grade 2 / Grade 1 horses. So he's just found his niche handicapping. He's gone up £5. He made a slight mistake in the closing stages when he was tiring against a good horse. You can see Nadia de la Vega is pretty much gone up and down on the one spot. Would you fancy her, given her edgy temperament, to close the gap on him? Perhaps not. So if he backs this up, he's going to run, first of all. He looks like he's going to run a solid race, provided he can slot together 2 runs back to back. I think handicapping is the key to him, and he's just found his level.
He's of a mark of 148, so there's no real secrets with him. He's always in there pitching. He deserves to drop on one. If he does drop on one off that mark, it's going to be a good race. He will. 28 days to get over it.
Yeah.
Him and the mare, but they did have a hard old slog, didn't they?
Worth remembering with Nadia de la Vega as well. I was down at Cheltenham at the October meeting. I don't know if it's something the Racing UK sort of picked up on the cameras, but as she won that day, but as she was leaving the paddock, she reared up. Tony McCoy was sort of jettisoned out the side door. She came right back on her back. She's always had that slight temperament about her. She's got loads of ability. If it was less testing ground than it was, say, at the Open meeting, I'd fancy her to bridge the gap with Walk-On, and she's definitely a player, but Walk-On looks a bit more solid.
Not sure. They're obviously a different track this weekend, but with the frost in the ground at the start of the week, your cover's over it, let a lot of rain. I think that there'll be very little help out of the ground. I think it'll be slow enough.
Yeah, that's interesting, because sometimes it can sweat.
Dead.
Does that mean there's more moisture? Does it
just means there's no kickback off it. There's no help when you're going in and you're not really. It might visually, you're looking at it going down the starter over the first 2 fences. You think that's not too bad. They're not kicking up that much, but actually it's dead, tacky, hard work, tiring ground.
Yeah, that Open meeting is as tiring as I've seen Cheltenham in the last half dozen years. It really was tiring.
What off the rest of them, obviously Crystal Bonus, Peterborough Chase is gone. Will Paul run too? That's why I'm saying it clear as mud now. I'm really looking forward to seeing the final declarations. I really like Union East. I'd love the top 2 to come out and sort of frame it where he's just enough.
Well, Hobbs has got a key to it, hasn't he? Because he's got wishful thinking. He's got Minora as well. You touched on Crystal Bonus. Minora beat Crystal Bonus last season when finally sort of Minora came good. Alfarov perhaps just was feeling the effects of Cheltenham, where he made a really serious mistake at the top of the hill when they were just starting to pump on in the Arkle. But Minora, we know this is a horse with latent talent. His Cheltenham record is terrific. He won the Supreme Novice and the Great Wood in the same year. He also won the Grade 2 International at this meeting 2 years ago as well. He's got loads of Cheltenham form, he's got loads of ability.
And if he wins...
The key to him is he hits the fence, doesn't he?
Yeah, if he wins Saturday night, you're going to be... Well, it's Cheltenham form, mark of 160, placing the champion hurdle. He's top class. Of course he's going to win. If he pulls up after 4 fences Saturday night, you're going to go, well, it's Minora.
But spring at Aintree, and although it was good to soft ground, I think that's the key. I think I'm saying he's a spring horse, I just think he's a better ground horse. And if it does turn out to be a test, given his ability to clout a friend, he did it again, admittedly off a really good gallop in the Holden Gold Cup behind Q Card. That was a respectable enough effort at sort of face value, but it's the worry about on that surface, and particularly the clouting offence might just keep him back.
Yeah, I'm just looking here on the BHA website. It was updated at 10:30 this morning. Good to soft in places. Hard frost forecast. Wednesday night -5. Temperatures +2 Thursday. Overnight of +1. Rising to +9 by noon Friday with heavy rain. 12 to 14 mils. So you don't have to be Michael Fish to work out. And it was good to soft. It was frost on the ground and 12 mils forecast. It's going to be hard work.
It's all about the water table. I mean, it's incredible because.
Nowhere to go.
I mean, I was down at Cheltenham, and on the Friday night, I think it was, of the Open meeting, it did rain for about half an hour. It was light rain, and I think they had about 6 mils or something overnight. That's nothing. Cheltenham literally blows that away with the horses going down to the start usually when they've had a good autumn and a warm October meeting. This time, that 6 mils was enough to make it almost heavy ground. It was so exhausting. I've never seen Cheltenham like that. So if they get more rain on top of that water table, it can be tested again.
Go one way. Yeah. We're going to need a dry spell. I know we're going to get ahead of ourselves, but before the festival, with the water table that high, or we could see proper testing ground for the first time in a long time. Well,
it was knee-jerk reaction. People were saying that in October, weren't they? And it seems too early to be saying that.
But it's just keeping on a bit,
We've gone the November meeting. If it turns out that we get more rain and we've gone to December meeting...
Christmas warm and wet.
But then again, you know what Cheltenham's like.
Yeah.
If suddenly
2 weeks dries.
A month or two,
Anyway, we're trying to predict Saturday, never mind next March. Whatever happens, Nigel Twiston Davis loves his local track. He loves having winners there. Astricat's an interesting runner. If he wins by 10 lengths, I don't think they'll enjoy it as much as they did last weekend at Aintree.
Yeah, I mean, we can see him in action in a 2-mile contest, again at the Open meeting. This was behind Shooter's Wood. Very different sort of horses, classier horses he's up against. He just got outpaced. He's the sort of horse, he's got mixed form between 2 and 2.5. He's pretty adaptable in truth, and if you look through some of his best from last season, it's worth remembering he was runner-up to Alpha Off in a novice at the Paddy Power meeting 12 months ago. Here he is with a really solid effort and a handicap 12 months on. He was also runner-up to Ricardo Sol at Aintree's Grand National meeting last season. He's got loads of Cheltenham form. He was 7th in the Grand Annual. He won a handicap hurdle 2 years ago, and he won at the December meeting in a 2-miler 12 months ago as well. So he's got loads of Cheltenham experience. The thing with him is he tends to be a horse for me about levels. He's got good placed form, but when he wins,
I agree,
it tends to be away from the limelight. A couple of his wins have come up in Scotland, haven't they?
He's good. Hey, don't you start slagging your Scottish racing off now. he's I completely get it. He's got a nice racing weight of 10 stone 8 if the top one stands his place. But I think you're right. I think the extra 5 furlongs will suit. Hunt Ball, surely he won't line up if they're going on about the ground, the Paddy Power.
If they get that 14 mils. Well, they ran him on comeback and then blamed the ground, which...
Yeah, but he did get beat last year. Fault will have mark of 70-something or 80-something.
True, but so, he won at Folkestone and Wincanton on soft ground and placed at Plumpton on heavy, didn't he? So, I mean, listen, maybe in this grade of race...
there's no margin for error.
When a pound every here or there is so significant.
I'll fire one up at a bigger price. Is it a bigger price? Yes, Michael Phillips, not in the betting.
Well, he's been
nice racing away. I just think he's improved. First time out of Paddy Power, yes, he pulled up. Up to Lynn, beat him 8 lengths last time out at Newbury. I thought it was more at the Paddy Power meeting. I thought he'd definitely strip a lot fitter. In Newbury was a step forward. If he could build on that again, he's got a nice racing weight. I think he'll handle the ground. 10 stone 6 if the weights don't go up. And Nick Schofield, how well's he riding?
Yeah, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. He's just been a nearly horse with some of these good races. He's been talked up so many times. He's been teed up already, it seems to me, this season already. So I'd rather go with more solid form. A couple I'd mention, by the way, if wishful thinking does run, a lot of people will think, 11 stone 10. Too difficult. There's several horses have won off big weights in the past. Pocklan won off 11.7, 11.8. Tamarin Blue won off 11.8. And Exotic Dancer, when he won it the year before, he was placed behind Coulter Star in the Gold Cup. He won it off 11.4 as well. Wishful Thinking has got some really interesting handicap form. By and large, you know him as a Grade 1 or a graded chaser, don't you? But you look at a couple of his handicap efforts, he was well beaten behind for non-stop at Aintree, but in handicapping terms it wasn't a disgraceful effort. And if you look at his effort at Punchestown back in 2011 where he won that novices handicap, he's weighted in and around both of those in handicapping terms. So strictly in handicap, never mind top weight, he's got a big chance. And the other one would be Notus de la Tour, given he ran behind Fleming Star last season. He also placed behind Blackstair Mountain, didn't he? I think in the Irish Arkle. He's got some solid form to his name, and he'd be quite interesting. The Pipes won this with Tamarin Blue.
He no doubt will be fit. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He likes to get on with things, doesn't he?
Yeah. And by the way, he was third to walk on in that Exeter novice where they had Zaynar in and amongst that. He's almost a stone better off for 8 lengths. So if you like walk on, in handicapping terms, Notus de la Tour is quite well in.
The Pipes might have been thinking about it for a month or two as well, so
you won't be surprised.
He would be. Yeah, it's a fascinating race, but I'm really looking to see the final list, if you know what I mean, just how the weights. Do they go up? Do they stay the same? And what gets in and what doesn't run? So it's a fascinating race live on Racing UK this Saturday.